and a hearty welcome to our drive-in theater. We have a wonderful evening's entertainment lined up for you, one that will provide several hours of pleasurable relaxation and diversion for you and your family. Did you fail to dress up for tonight's show? No tie, an old shirt and slacks, a house dress? Well, don't give it a thought. We're glad you came as you are. We just want you to enjoy yourselves. Don't forget to visit our refreshment center during the intermission or any time. You love the tasty array of snacks we have to offer. So will the youngsters. Everything is quality and so good. We hope you'll make this a weekly visit. Bring the family. Bring your friends. There are always wonderful new pictures to see, delightful snacks to nibble, a gay, pleasant evening for all. Oh, a word of caution. Don't drive over 10 miles an hour in the theater area for your safety's sake. And Mom or Pop, go with the kids when they leave the car. We hope you have a wonderful time. Come back soon. Wouldn't some hot buttered popcorn hit the spot right now? Extra fluffy, extra big kernels of it popped to perfection. Then drenched with the golden goodness of pure sweet creamery butter. Can't you just taste it? We heat the container extra high, but you better buy 2 more for the rest of the family. Piping hot, golden buttered popcorn at the refreshment center right now.
We're millionaires, boys. I'll share it with all of you. Why, in a few months it'll be up in lights on Broadway. Come, the 8th wonder of the world!
Wild, weird, wonderful, the stuff for which movies were made. Adventure, to make you wonder if it's true, while your eyes convince you that it is. Truly, the thrill of thrills. Don't miss it this time.
You suppose there's time?
Sure, there's still time to visit our famed snack bar, where we offer a wide variety of good things to eat and drink to top off your evening. Want a suggestion? How about enjoying a treat we're famous for? A refreshing cup of smooth, chocolatey good Jubilee hot chocolate. Such a comforting, special kind of drink, and a favorite with folks of all ages. Hot chocolate goes down real easy this time of night, makes you feel warm and altogether wonderful. Bet you've never tasted hot chocolate quite as good as we make it. Enjoy a cup tonight.
I'm just another trouble. You told me not to come on the boat.
Good night, kid.
Good night.
Ah, that's what everybody thinks who's never been there.
Skipper, believe it or not, there's a little calm. What?
A little... How little?
Hey, kids, how would you like to hear this on the screen instead of the great show you came to see? That's what you sound like. Honest. Please cooperate and do your part in keeping this theater quiet so everyone, including you, can enjoy it. Now remember, lots of adults and kids, too, paid admission to enjoy the show. We must insist on absolute quiet. Otherwise, we will be forced to evict all disturbance makers from the theater. Those asked to leave today will be refused admission to this theater in the future. Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the June. What month is it? The June live stream. Who do we got here? Rex is here. Hello, Popeye. Love your cartoons. Thanks for coming by. Uncle Gilbert here as well, and the bride. So, hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm just getting over a cold or something, so my voice is like just coming back. Like today's probably the most normal I've sounded in a week. So hopefully that holds out for however long we'll be chit-chatting here today. El Santo is here as well. There's a lot of celebrities in the chat. El Santo, Uncle Gilbert, Popeye is here. This reminds me when I went to theaters when I was a kid. Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about this actually recently because I've got sort of like an offer to pop onto someone else's live stream, do a reaction to one of my videos, and I was thinking about like how I'm not like in this particular context, I'm not like a fan of Godzilla, like a Godzilla fan like most Godzilla fans. Like I'm a fan of old movies, right? And especially horror sci-fi movies from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. And not like, you know, a fan of the monster. I don't want Godzilla to be my boyfriend. I don't really, I loathe power scaling, all that sort of stuff. Like I analyze these movies, as anyone who watches my channel would know. I analyze movies as movies, and I do like Godzilla, but not like that. And see, like what I'm really interested in is the cultural experience, the pop culture experience of the past. So hence why I have this intro of like this drive-in theater with the trailers and everything, is because it's recapturing that bygone era in the, like mid-century, like interwar to mid-century sort of period. And a lot of what I'm interested in with the movies as well, like the retro Godzilla experience, the retro King Kong experience, you know, that sort of thing. You know, as I've said many a time, I'm not so much a fan of King Kong as I am of the movie, and the monkey just sort of represents the movie, right? But yeah, this is a weird thing I was thinking about recently here. Gilbert says, hello, Rex. I love how they used to have a little video saying, hey kids, you're annoying, so shut up before the movies. Yeah, that'd be nice to bring that back, actually. Like some actual sorry, there's the Fleischer Superman. I did one of my most recent last videos on. I gotta try to put him somewhere where he's not hiding behind the little thing there. I gotta just peek out this way. No, that's not gonna work. Whatever. Yeah. Oh my God, so many people have forgotten how to behave in a movie theater. Like, jeez. They do need to bring back, like, here's basic human courtesy. Hola amigos, nice toys back there. Thank you. Thank you. This might actually probably be the last live stream from this location here, because now the bride and I are finally actually like packing and doing the move over to the new place. Today I was just over there finishing off the flower wall that we're going to use to hide the closet in what will be our basement entertainment room, Kong collection / tiki room. or as I've been calling it, my pre-World War II tropical escapist film or room. So as not to offend the tiki purists. But yeah, I was over there today, and now we're going to actually be packing stuff like that. So I'm expecting that this will probably, hopefully, be the last live stream from this location. There might not be a live stream next month, but uh, yeah, we'll see how that all that pans out. So what that means though is that things are going to get split up here. So the Kongs are going in the Tiki room. So when I broadcast from the Tiki room, you'll see all the Kong stuff behind me. And the rest of the toys and collectibles and everything, those are all going to go in the new sort of studio room. And I'm going to expand that space out. So they're not all, like my figs here, won't all be crammed into one shelf. They'll have like nice little dioramas and everything. And yeah, it should hopefully work out nicely. But yeah, so it'll be a slightly different scenario here next time you see me, hopefully. But yes, if you're not familiar with the toy setup here though, Popeye, Kong collection. All my King Kongs are on this side over here. Random mid-century monster kit stuff. Shock Monster Mask, Forgotten Prisoner of Castlemare, Vampira hanging out there, Monster Cereals guys there. 7-inch figures, so mainly NECA Universal Monsters, a few others, got Mars Attacks there. DC Multiverse, I've got Batman hanging out in there because my Supermans are off here because I just did a video about them. The Mezco 5.XL Godzilla collection, which is apparently complete because they've stopped that line. And down here, I've actually got Transformers. But these are the only new things I've gotten recently, incidentally. So other than like buying tons of stuff for the house. Finally got Galvatron. Add him to the collection. I did end up getting Blur, but I'm keeping him in car mode because the robot mode doesn't look anything like Blur, so that's not really advantageous, but I know who it's supposed to be. So there we go. Now I just got to get Galvatron to stand up on his own 2 feet. There we go. Yeah. So this had a toy show here recently, and like this last weekend, and so managed to get a few more additions to my Transformer collection. Yeah, actually above me I got like cleared off this shelf because that stuff's all gone to the other house now. I got my 80s shelf up here. So got like He-Mans and some other other Transformers up there that don't fit with the rest of my collection there. So that's what's going on with the toy shelves there. Let's see. I'd take Godzilla as a boyfriend, sure, why not? Hey Expose, welcome. Glad you made it. Rex, well, you said that you don't want Godzilla to be your boyfriend as a joke, but trust me, there's a scarily large amount of people who unironically want that. Yeah, that's how I imagine power scalers in my head, is that there's that video floating around about that girl in Japan who went on a date with Godzilla. It's like, that's what I imagine power scalers are like. Like, they're jealous of that girl. Homosexuality exists in nature? Oh, I've seen it. I like the Teenage Frankenstein mask. This is actually the Shock Monster. This is Justin Mabry, so Trick or Treat Studios, Justin Mabry, his first version of the Shock Monster. So the Shock Monster is a famous Halloween mask. It was sold in Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine. And that image of the Shock Monster himself, you can just Google Shock Monster. The Shock Monster himself became like a sort of a mascot for Famous Monsters of Filmland. And the original mask was produced by Topstone. It was like a cheapo Halloween mask. Things like Nightmare Fuel, if you see like an original one. Justin Mabry did this tribute version of it right there. And then Trick or Treat Studios has since actually like bought the Topstone license or whatever it is. So now they've produced a new version of the Shock Monster that's closer to the original. Like souped up version of it, but it's like, really close to the original art and everything. And they're also producing a Shock Monster action figure as well. That's in sort of the Mego style. So more like, the Fly here. We'll use him as an example. So like a Fly style figure as opposed to like a NECA style figure. Amigo figure of the Shock Monster. So I'm hoping I can get that somehow or other. Things are rough here in Canada because like a lot of companies don't sell in Canada anyways. NECA barely does, and then with all of the oh bloody hell, fly's not staying up there. And then with the current unpleasantness between Canada and the United States, it's just making things that much more difficult to get things up here and at an affordable price. So I'm hoping to get the Shock Monster. I don't know. I might have to like actually order that in from like Big Bad Toy Store or something. For God knows how much. Oh my God, fly, stand. Ah, okay, forget it. fly's not going back on the thing for now. But yeah, I love the Shock Monster because he's so iconic, right? We're talking about like this is the cultural experience of the thing, of mid-century monster kitsch, and Shock Monster is such a intrinsic part of that. So you have to have the Shock Monster around. Where's your Popeye figure? I wish. I wish I could find a 7-inch scale Popeye figure. I think one's been made. And like one that I can afford though, like not like a Mezco like 112 collective sort of one that's like $200. Like give me like a NECA or like a Jada Popeye figure for like somewhere between like 30 and $60. I would love a Popeye figure. That'd be great. I do have Gil. I do have Gil Man. He is right back here. Sorry, you can't see that. He's behind the Martian right there. Right there. The NECA creature from the Black Lagoon. I have him. So we all love Godzilla. Of course we do. I've got Astro Train and Transmetals 2 Beast Wars Megatron. That's a long name. Yep, sure is. Last film with Godzilla and Kong was great. I loved Godzilla X Kong. I thought it was bad, but it was like awesomely bad. Like Godzilla 2014 is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Like it was just bad. Skull Island was okay. I'm just glad it wasn't a remake of the original King Kong. King of the Monsters is still, in my opinion, the best MonsterVerse movie. Godzilla vs. Kong was bad for different reasons than 2014. But Godzilla X Kong was just big dumb fun. It was like a big budget version of an old like Showa Godzilla movie, like 60s Godzilla movie. So I enjoyed it in that sense. So yeah, and like and Scar King. I love Scar King. Like as a Kong aficionado, to add another villain to Kong's roster of villains, right? Because like otherwise, I'm trying this again. This is gonna bug me until I get it right. Are you gonna stay? Come on. Oh my God, what are you on that you are not standing up? Oh my God. Okay, that's gonna bug me the entire live stream now. Every time I move him, his feet move. That's the problem. Right, because otherwise, like Kong's only real enemies, like cinematic enemies, are like Godzilla and Mechanicong. So to add one more in Scar King is a lot of fun. Godzilla -1 was excellent as well. Yes, absolutely. The Fly, it looks fantastic. Yeah, I like the figure. I mean, it's Amigo figure, right? So it's a very like retro 70s sort of style. It's not like I would love a NECA Fly figure. The highly detailed sort of screen accurate Fly. But until that time, the little weird creepy Mego Fly figure will do fine. Let the fly if he doesn't want to stay. Is that Vampira on the left? Yes, that's Vampira. That's a Vampira vase produced by Creepsville. And that's actually the NECA Ben Cooper figure of the Vampire Girl. It's Vampira. I love Vampira. Again, it's going back again to the whole like the experience of pop culture of the past. Vampira was the original horror host, and she was gorgeous. And yeah, I'm kind of like a groupie for Vampira now. I grew up with like Elvira, who I got her NECA figure right there. But I have, in my old age, come to appreciate Vampira, the Proto-Goth, the first horror host, all that sort of stuff. So I want NECA to make a figure of her too. Would be great. I wanted to get the Toonie Terrors Vampiro figure, but no dice. They don't. It has not appeared in Canada, and wasn't in the U.S. when I went down there last. And I did see the Super 7 Reaction Plan 9 Vampiro figure once, but I can't countenance the reaction figures because it's like, if it was like $10 for like this cheap, crappy action figure on that's meant to stay on the card as an art piece, I could justify that, but not like 20, 25, $30 Canadian for a reaction figure. Like, no way. So I like Vampiro, but not that much. I see Flash Gordon. Yep. Flash Gordon right there. That's the NECA one, but that's a 6-inch figure compared to the 7-inch other figure. So he looks a little small compared to the other ones. Let's see, Expose. Since we had our last stream, I had 5 parades, including a Major League Baseball stadium. Good for you. Congratulations. Popeye's just having fun. That's good. Better than the alternative. Doug's here. Good evening, everyone. Sorry for the delay. Stupid idiots on parade here at work. Oh. The last one reminded me of the movies in the Showa era. Yeah, exactly. I had that revelation when they're like underground and there's all the crystals and like the pink glow and they're all telepathic. I'm like, oh my god, this is like a Showa Godzilla movie. What's the worst film you have ever seen? Personally, it's a tie between Space Thunder Kids and Wavelength. The worst movie I've ever seen? It's hard to say because I've seen a lot of bad ones. Like I have to classify like what I mean when I say they're bad, because there's like movies that I just didn't enjoy. There's movies I think were genuinely bad, and there's movies that are so bad they're good, which I enjoy. And there are movies that are just that make me angry with how bad they are. So like Godzilla 2014 made me angry. Like I was like yelling at the screen like when they finally got to the point where it's like Godzilla and the Muto are gonna fight in San Francisco and they close the doors to the shelter so you don't see the fight. I actually yelled at the screen like, you gotta be effing kidding me. That movie like just so studiously avoided anything interesting that it was almost like fascinating in its own way, but frustratingly so. There was this one movie floating out there called The Girl from Calgary, made 1931, and it is freaking awful. Like, not every old movie is good, right? The ones that have really stood the test of time are the ones that are still around today. Lots of bad movies were made in the past. This was one of them. And I wanted to watch it because I'm from Calgary, so I'm like, all right, I want to see this movie Girl from Calgary. Watched it. It was an absolute piece of garbage. Like one of the worst classical movies I've ever seen. And then I would scroll down the comments because I wanted to see what other people said about this piece of crap movie. The only comment was by me from a year earlier saying what a piece of crap it was. Like I'd actually blocked it out. I blocked out how bad this movie was. I blocked out having seen it at all. So I guess that would count as a pretty darn bad movie that I've seen. I have some of my hot take bad movies. I did not enjoy Lord of the Rings. I apologize to the bride because she loves it. I feel bad. I wish I did love it as much as she loves it. But Peter Jackson as a director, I can't do. So if they ever remade Lord of the Rings, I made a new version and put the same care and stuff like that, and not like Amazon with the Rings of Power. We've been going through the books, and the books are great. Yeah. But I know that's a hot take. That's an unpopular opinion on my part. What else? I mean, God, pick any like Disney live action remake would count. Though, I mean, to be fair, I didn't actually even watch Snow White, so whatever. Anyways, yeah, hard to say what my most worstest movie I've ever seen is. I don't see any Gamera figures. No, because I can't get into Gamera. I have tried to get into Gamera. I've watched some of the Showa ones. I've watched some of the Heisei ones. And whatever the it is for Gamera, I can't get it. I don't know why. I don't know, like, why I don't get Gamera, but I don't. My favorite non-Toho kaiju would be Daimajin, right? So, oh shoot, what's the name of the company? Daiei. Daiei's got Gamera, Daimajin, and the Yokai Monsters series. And yeah, like Daimajin and Yokai Monsters are great. Gamera, I just don't get. I don't know what it is about it. Mego made figures out of everything back in the day. Yep, and they're back, and they're making figures of everything now, too. If anyone's interested, YouTuber channel Awesome has been doing a month-long theme called Juniversal, showcasing Universal movies from Jekyll and Hyde, 1911 through today. Yep. I watched a few of those. I haven't watched too many of them, but I remember they made figures based on TV shows like SWAT and Starsky and Hutch. Yeah, Mego did. They also made figures of all the Marvel and DC characters. Yeah, I actually had, when I was a kid, I had like the big Mego Batman figure. I'm still waiting for the Petticoat Junction reaction figures. You know, eventually it's like Funkos are going to run out of stuff to do, right? But the thing is, like Super 7, I mean, they're one of those companies that, like NECA, where they just, they're so focused on just like this narrow band of like horror and sci-fi stuff of just like has to be these particular franchises as well. So, like, I mean, they do like Super 7 Reaction, they do like, they had that like Tales from the Crypt inspired line and stuff, but I would imagine this probably didn't sell all that well because they're not like a known license of anything. If they weren't like $25 Canadian, I might have bought them because they're cool, but not again, it's just not something I'm attached to, so I'm not going to spend that kind of like money on. Some bad movies are fun, like Plan 9 from Outer Space. Yeah, Plan 9's like what, you know, the archetypal so bad it's good movie. Like, I am endlessly entertained by Plan 9. I can watch Plan 9 over and over and over again. I did a whole video on Plan 9 about how Plan 9 is almost great. Like, it's almost good. Like, it's almost a really good movie, but then it just pratfalls every single time and comes out with something hilarious. So, but yeah, I love Plan 9. Plan 9's a great, like, so bad it's good movie. I saw another one recently that actually reminded me of The Lost Skeleton and Cadavra. So if you've never seen The Lost Skeleton and Cadavra, The Lost Skeleton and Cadavra is an intentional satire of 1950s sci-fi movies. And it's hilarious. Like, I love Lost Skeleton and Cadavra. But then recently I watched From Hell It Came, which is this movie. It's this takes place on the South Seas Island that looks a lot like a backlot in California. And this guy gets unjustly killed, executed by the corrupt tribal leaders, and then comes back as this killer tree. And it is exactly like Lost Skeleton and Cadavra, but it's an actual 1950s sci-fi movie. Like, it's not meant to be a parody of one. It actually is one. So I enjoyed that just because it was so crazy and bad. Like, so bad it's good kind of thing. Robot Monster really is on, it really straddles the line. So much of Robot Monster is actually genuinely bad and boring. But it has its moments, and the monster is iconic. So Robot Monster kind of gets a pass. There actually is a Robot Monster plush that I want. Because it just looks so fun. It'd be a nice thing to have in the backdrop here. Because yeah, the monster is iconic. But the movie itself is not. It's not like as feverishly fun as like Plan 9 is. It is kind of plodding and boring. But again, it's got its moments. Let's see. Can confirm he did scream at the TV. Yes, the bride can confirm. You gotta be effing kidding me. Doug says, not a comprehensive list, of course, but the first 10 episodes or so are about our favorite classic monsters, plus an extensive, glowing review of the epic theme park area. Yeah. You know, I acknowledge I am an outlier. Well, see, this is the thing is, like, I'm not really an outlier, okay? Because there is so little discussion about Dark Universe in, like, the hardcore Universal fan, monster fan communities. You know, these posts do come up of people who've been to Dark Universe and thought it was great, and then like nobody replies to them. So, and I think everyone's just kind of got tired out of like crapping on it. Like, we all see it now. We've all watched the videos of it. We know what it's about. We know that the Frankenstein monster isn't even the Frankenstein monster. He's a flayed corpse in the queue of the ride. So it's either you like it or you don't at this point. And God bless the people who do like it, I guess. The channel awesomes and like Antonia Carlotta, she enjoyed it. But it's not for me. I know it's not for me. It's not, contrary to their advertising, it's not made for really hardcore Universal Monster fans, because hardcore Universal Monster fans wanted the Universal Monsters in their Universal Monsterland. So yeah, and then I got so like hardcore BTFO'd in my last video when I did my reaction to the first videos of Dark Universe that you know what, forget it. There's nothing more to talk about with it, right? Like it's done, it's out. We see what it is now. It's everything I said it was going to be, and in fact, even a little worse because it's not even the Frankenstein monster. It's everything I said it was going to be. I was right. I was right the whole time. It's just that some people don't care or don't mind it or whatever. So whatever. There's nothing more to say. I was right. I was right the whole time. That's all. That's all there is to it. That's all there is to say. Amy says hi. Hi, Amy. Sorry it took me so long to get down to your post there. Sadly, I've been associated with a few films that weren't critically well received, but they are classics, El Santo. Don't worry. Papa, I love all kinds of movies. Yeah. I mean, I was thinking about this too, as I was thinking about like this. What is my relationship with movies, anyways, and being a fan of King Kong and Godzilla and whatever else. That actually, after like horror and sci-fi, my favorite genre of movie have become like musicals, like stuff from like musicals from like the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. So Busby Berkeley, Astaire and Rogers, um, um, Gene Kelly is like my man crush. Judy Garland, and even if you want to include them, like Roy Rogers singing cowboy westerns, are like my next favorite genre after horror and sci-fi movies. I don't know why. I think this is because they're such an interesting time capsule. Again, going back to that whole idea of like it's the pop culture experience of the past, and sort of getting into the culture of the time. And so like musicals are like the total package of entertainment, right? They always have drama and romance and comedy and some kind of threat or whatever, and they have the total package. Just they're most known for the music, but they've got like a little bit of everything in them, right? They're this total entertainment package that I find really interesting and I really enjoy. Right, I genuinely enjoy a good Busby Berkeley musical or Astaire and Rogers or what have you. So Judy Garland, sort of gay 90s, 1890s musicals, stuff like that. I mean, I love the 1890s, gay 90s aesthetic as well. So, yeah, anyways. So, I mean, it's kinds of movies I don't really care for. I for classical film, I've actually sat down and watched like a lot of dramas and stuff like that, and a lot of them don't really leave a mark. Like, well, like I've watched a good chunk of like Marlene Dietrich movies, and I'm like, meh, okay. Like they're not capturing my imagination the way like Universal Monsters do or whatever. I don't feel bad, Santo. My family's been associated with several bad movies. We are the only T-Rexes in cinema. I have an interesting story about how I wound up in Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. You get into it here. Don't like Gamera unsubscribed. Yeah, sorry. I know. I wish I did. People have tried. I've given it a good college try, and unfortunately, I can't. I don't know. I don't know. What point do you give up trying to get into something? One of my films had dubious honor of appearing on MST3K, Santo and Dracula's Treasure. Lost Skeleton was about aliens. Yeah. Well, I mean, two of them were aliens. Crowbar and Lattice were the aliens. And they're mutants, I guess. The Walking Tree was hilarious, yeah. I was actually thinking, as I was watching it, like, if you were going to do a remake of From Hell It Came, you could actually do a really great monster of, like, this skeleton that's kind of embedded in a tree, in this creepy-looking tree that's kind of, like, shambling around. You could actually do a really cool monster with that idea, which is not what they did in From Hell It Came. He had this really disapproving grimace on. Looked more like something from, like, Sid and Marty Krofft or McDonald Land. I kind of said Petticoat Junction figures as a joke, but I would really love that. Petticoat Junction is one of my favorite shows. It reminds me of the summers I spent with my grandparents in rural California. I've never actually sat down and watched like a whole Petticoat Junction episode. Um, I've seen clips and stuff like that. I probably would like it because again, it's got the whole like gay '90s aesthetic, which I really like. The Main Street USA kind of aesthetic. So I should actually like try. The show we finally have gotten into actually is Dark Shadows. Um, well, we were, and then the bride started watching this like Toronto-based police procedural called Flashpoint. Yeah, I got like this DVD set of Dark Shadows episodes, like the fan favorite episodes and that sort of stuff. And then we were like, we have no clue what's going on in these episodes because we haven't actually seen the whole show, and found out that it's actually on Tubi. So we might actually at some point start sitting down and like watching Dark Shadows. Kind of getting into it. And it's actually like, yeah, I mean, I understand why it's entertaining. It's just the spooky soap opera, which is kind of fun. But I guess maybe once we've watched all 1,000 episodes of Dark Shadows, then we'll get to Petticoat Junction. Giant Claw's fun, yeah. I enjoy that there were shots from the giant claw that they just lifted completely into Godzilla King of the Monsters. Like the Rodan attack scenes. So many of those shots were taken from the giant claw. Like what? Robot Monster is the same gorilla costume that used in Conga. Yeah, I can believe that. They used footage from 1 million BC, correct? I do want to go to the Epic Universe theme park for the How to Train Your Dragon section. No, fair enough. I will say that like the Celestial Park part of it looks really good. Because another aesthetic that I really enjoy is that kind of like Victorian celestial aesthetic, which is sort of like the like Disneyland, Paris, Discoveryland aesthetic. Some of it was in kind of Deep Space Nine, Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Georges Méliès films, the Down the Galactic Railroad, like that kind of aesthetic, and that's the Celestial Park kind of has that aesthetic. So if I was going to compare it to another theme park, it would be Discoveryland at Disneyland Paris. So that looks beautiful, but it's not like something I would go to Florida for, especially in the current political climate. If I was in Florida and we went to Epic Universe because the bride wanted to see the Harry Potter stuff at Epic Universe, then it's like, yeah, I guess we would go into Dark Universe. I'd be more interested in the shop just to go buy like the actual Universal Monsters merchandise. I looked at the they have those NECA action figures, the repaints that are painted to look like Basil Gogo's paintings. I looked at ordering those from the website, but no, I don't feel like paying $300 for them. So that was that. But if we were there, maybe do that. But again, not planning. There's so many other places, even in the United States, I would rather go than Florida. And yeah, so there we go. Have you talked about cars at Magic Kingdoms as they showed the full layout? No, I haven't done another video about that because I think I kind of said everything I needed to say in my previous video about it. I think it's a terrible idea. Even like the art, the concept art they released, the layout they released, doesn't look as bad as it could have been. And it looks like they still tried to keep like this kind of bit of a river, and they've got some of the mountains and stuff like that to try and mask some sight lines and things. But at the end of the day, you still have the problem that Disneyland, Magic Kingdom, is supposed to be where you leave today and enter the world of yesterday, tomorrow, and fantasy. So what is the yesterday, tomorrow, and fantasy about 4x4ing through a national forest or a national park or whatever? You can actually do that. You can go out to Montana, you can go out to Wyoming, out to Colorado, and you can go do that in real life. You can go drive through a national park for cheaper than going to Florida. Cheaper than going to Disney World. It would be more rewarding and more fun and more inexpensive, more cost effective to go to Yellowstone and just go drive through Yellowstone. Go to Glacier National Park and drive the Going to the Sun Road. Get the real experience of what they're trying to replicate in Cars Land. Disney is always been at its best historically when it was creating experiences that you can't have in the real world, either because they take place in a fantasy world or they take place in the past. So whether that's like Fantasyland, that you're flying over Neverland, like you can't do that in real life. If you're flying over Neverland, if you're going down the rabbit hole, Alice in Wonderland, or you're going into a hut with singing tikis and birds and flowers, or you are going into a temple, Forbidden Temple with Indiana Jones, or you're going to the Old West and taking a paddle wheel steamship down the rivers of the Old West. You can't do those things in real life. The Cars ride you can do in real life. Yeah, you can drive through a national park. That's no problem. So it's like, here you leave today and enter the world of today, but more expensive. So it's like, I can say, yeah, the Cars, what they released doesn't look as bad as it could have been, but it still fundamentally is bad because it's injecting this Pixar ride that takes place in the modern day. Pixar doesn't belong in the parks because Pixar takes place in the modern day. But it's it's like throwing this ride in the park that you can do in real life for cheaper. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's a big misstep, and I'm sad also that like when I went to Disney World, because we went to Disney World for our honeymoon. This was 10 years ago. When we went to Disney World, the stuff I was most excited to see was actually the stuff that used to be at Disneyland. So like the People Mover and the Carousel of Progress and Tom Sawyer Island that was actually open with an open fort and stuff. Country Bear Jamboree, like all these things that used to be at Disneyland. That's what I was most interested in seeing. Swiss Family Treehouse, all that sort of stuff. So it's sad to see that disappearing, right? I mean, as long as they keep the original. But that said, they did like truncate the Rivers of America at Disneyland too. So, and it's getting to the point then where it's like, okay, then just go to Hannibal, Missouri, because Hannibal, Missouri is the hometown of Mark Twain. It's got the riverfront. It's got the old timey Main Street. It's got a riverboat that goes on the Mississippi. It's got a cave. It's got forest parks around it. Like it's Frontierland. So go to Hannibal, Missouri, right? If you're that concerned about it, Cory, just go to Hannibal. Oh no, my Bates Motel sign is dead. So actually turn that off completely. So that's my thought. That's my thought on the cars thing. Maybe I should do a video about it to rant more, get those clicks, whatever. But yeah, Robot Monster is the kind of movie I would have made when I was a kid. Yeah, right down to the bubble machine, right? I always liked the film where Frankenstein fought the Wolfman. Yep. What about the beach party musicals with Frankie and Annette? I actually own a copy of Beach Party, like the first one. I haven't seen the other ones. I was interested in them when I still had my store. So, if you're not familiar with the lore of the channel, I used to own a store here in Calgary where I sold like retro horror and sci-fi stuff. It was basically just my channel just barfed up as a store. And I had a big TV in there where I played all the classic movies. And, when you sit there for like 6 hours and you're kind of like, you start looking up stuff and it's like, then I would have had the time to actually sit and watch all the Beach Party movies. But now that I don't have the store anymore, because it wasn't making money, because who else is into this stuff? Enough to buy stuff at a store. I don't want to have the time to watch the Beach Party movies. But I did keep the original one, Beach Party, to pop that in now and then, just out of funsies. But let's see. Singing in the Rain is my second favorite movie of all time, right behind Valley of Gwangi. Yeah, sure. I like Singing in the Rain well, it's got Gene Kelly in it, but also, it's a tribute to Hollywood, right? It's a tribute to classic film, which makes it like movies about movies, right? King Kong is a movie about movies. The Artist is a movie about movies. Singing in the Rain's a movie about movies. So that's, the pop culture experience, right? Movies about movies. Expose. I'm gonna be honest, I have been so busy this summer with so many things, so I haven't really had too much time to watch a whole lot of films lately. On the bright side, I've been having tons of fun. Expose, that is okay. You're allowed to go touch grass and talk to real people and go have fun in the real world. That is fine. I remember Eric Von Zipper in the Beach Party films. He was hilarious. Yep. Yeah, the Beach Party is like the Beach Party films are interesting because they are entertaining, but they're like a very mainstream entertaining, I guess. I mean, at the time they were like this was cutting edge like teenage stuff. The adults thought movies were bad and the kids were all into them. Today it's kind of like very boomer. It's not quite as bad as like Elvis movies. Like Blue Hawaii is such a strange movie. Like it's Elvis is like cool dude, but he's not really cool. He's just sort of like a jerk. And then it ends with like, he solves the girl's problem by giving her a good spanking. And it's just like, what am I watching? So it's just a bit it's a bit strange that way, I suppose. To me, the Beach Party movies have a bit of that same quality to them, of very much an artifact of their time period, shall we say. So I wouldn't say Eric Von Zipper, the Von Zippers are like the most drop dead funny thing I've ever seen, but certainly an artifact of their time period. Definitely. I think my favorite worst movie is A Giant Claw. Yeah, fair enough. Also, besides King Kong, my favorite film is probably Battleship Potemkin, which isn't even American. Well, I mean, that's fine. You're allowed to like non-American films. My favorite horror movie is actually Vampire, which is a Dutch expressionist film. Vampire is a masterpiece. Yeah, if I actually listed my favorite films, it might surprise people a little bit. Because I mean, like obviously I like King Kong, but I wouldn't say King Kong's even my most favorite film. My most favorite film is Fantasia, as I've made a video about how it's the greatest movie of all time. But like other favorite films of mine are like The King and the Mockingbird, Midnight in Paris, The Adventures of Mark Twain. I would mention King Kong, but I say I say it's like my favorite adventure film. I do like the obvious ones. Like I like Frankenstein, A Bride of Frankenstein, The Old Dark House, The Wolfman, that sort of thing. But also like Of Mice and Men is like probably my favorite classical dramatic film. Of Mice and Men with Burgess Meredith and Lon Chaney. It's a brilliant movie about sort of male alienation during the Great Depression. So yeah, I would think like, I know a lot of fans might be just like, oh, my favorite movie is like the most recent one I've seen, or it's, Godzilla -1 or Destroy All Monsters or whatever. But no, it's like actual real movies that I like more. It's just like I don't collect merch for like The King and the Mockingbird. It's not what it's about. Oh, Poppy subscribed again. Thank you. Thank you. The Tree Had a Face, I remember. Yep. At least my least favorite genre is non-fiction biopics. I think they're often lazy and disrespectful, but my favorite is dinosaur. Fair enough. Fair enough. It's less gay 90s aesthetic and more broke rural 60s aesthetic over Petticoat Junction. I thought it was like set in the 1890s, like as a gay 90s aesthetic. Come on. Have you seen Horror Express? No. Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing. I haven't seen a lot of the British ones, like the Hammer films. I still haven't like really sat down and watched them. So, I did the veering off like after Universal. Some people might veer off into Hammer. I veered off into American International. So I haven't really seen like a lot of the Hammer ones and stuff like that, or like Horror Express. So besides horror, my favorite genres are 1930s grindhouse films and esoteric foreign films. 30s grindhouse. You'll have to give me examples of that one. They made 2 movies based on Dark Shadows, 3 if you include the Johnny Depp version. Yeah, I have that DVD set I bought has both the Dark Shadows films on it. Not the Johnny Depp one, but the the 2 original ones. The only one I liked is that one was in that one was Ava Green as Angelique. Yeah, I've heard so many bad things. I even have a friend who was like, I have forgiven Tim Burton for so much and defended him for so much, and with Dark Shadows, I am done with him. Like, yep, Tim Burton peaked in the 90s. Also recommend Green Acres and Beverly Hillbillies. They are in the same continuity of Petticoat Junction. Also, maybe Mr. Ed, but I don't have time for that discussion. Okay. So Petticoat Junction takes place during the 60s then. Do you think they should do a solo Mothra film as part of the MonsterVerse? No, I don't. I mean, I'm not like a huge fan of the MonsterVerse version of Mothra, which is weird because Mothra is like my favorite kaiju. Like, I actually like Mothra more than I like Godzilla. But I feel like the MonsterVerse Mothra tends to kind of miss the point of Mothra. Like, what's interesting about Mothra is and she's beautiful. Like, she's a cute, beautiful kaiju. Which they try to make her all like edgy and stuff. They brought back a bit of her beauty in Godzilla X Kong by making her that orange and white, the creamsicle look to her. But they gave her all like these claws and stingers and everything, trying to make her badass. And like, that's not what Mothra's about. Mothra is a goddess of life, death, and rebirth. So MonsterVerse kind of misses the point of Mothra. So I wouldn't really trust them to do a solo movie of Mothra. And I don't think Mothra would really, like, not enough other people are fans of Mothra that they would go see it. Kong and Godzilla have the name recognition. What I think they should do is go back to solo movies for Godzilla and Kong. And then the other ones can guest star, right? So you can have like a movie that takes place on the surface with Godzilla and like Rodan. And then have a separate movie in Hollow Earth with like Kong and Mothra. That would be my suggestion. Not that anybody's paying attention to me. Controversial opinion. Where'd it go? Lost it. I thought the Disney parks in LA are better than the ones in Florida because it's mostly the same attractions and rides, but not divided into 4 parks. Yeah, I see that. In fact, if you count them up, there's actually more attractions in Disneyland. That's not actually true. It depends if you count it as an attraction. The best advice I got for Disney World was that it's not just about the theme parks. So make time to do things other than the theme parks. So make time to go to Disney Springs and do stuff there. Or at the time when we went, it was like Disney Village or whatever, and they still have the Disney Quest and stuff like that. But make time to do Disney Springs. Make time to go resort hopping. Make time to go to Trader Sam's. Rent a boat. Do tours, rent boats, rent bikes, do carriage rides, do all that stuff. Go to mini golf, go to the water parks, do all the other stuff along with the theme parks. Because Disney World is supposed to be like originally it was called the Vacation Kingdom. If you do all that other stuff, Disney World really fills out. And that's like a lot of the stuff I enjoyed was doing that stuff. Like, weirdly enough, my favorite ride at Disney World was the Haunted Mansion. I think that was the best version of the Haunted Mansion I've been on. That one's actually better than the one at Disneyland. But otherwise, it was like Country Bear Jamboree and Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom. I really loved the old card game, augmented reality card game thing that they did. But like, a lot of my favorite memories from Disney World or doing the other stuff. You know, wasn't really riding the rides. Like, yeah, we did the rides, of course, but it was the resort hopping. It was the waitress we had at the Roaring Fork, I think it was, in Wilderness Lodge. It was the Trader Sam, or no, it wasn't Trader Sam's at the time, but it was the Spirit of Aloha show at the Polynesian, in walking around the Polynesian Resort. It was taking, because we were staying at the Port Orleans French Quarter, and taking the boat, the water taxi, from the ferry, whatever, from our hotel down the winding waterway to get to Disney Village and going to like Disney Quest, stuff like that. Those are my fondest memories from Disney World. Not so much the rides. And then the bride got sick. That's another fun. That's a good story, that one. But yeah, and like, you know, spending time with my new wife, because that was our honeymoon destination, and just enjoying our resort and resort hopping and all that stuff is what I really enjoyed, what I have really good memories of. So that's the appeal of Disney World, is that you do all the other stuff along with the theme parks. If you're just like theme parks, rides, whatever, then Disneyland is definitely more concentrated. You don't have to go as far. It's just 2 parks. They're right across the Esplanade from each other. And Disneyland is, you know, the close place in my heart because that was my first park and the first park, right? Like, that was Walt's original park. Disneyland is the park that he built. It's the original Disneyland, the original rides, the original Disneyland Hotel, all that sort of stuff, right? So that's all near and dear to my heart, and it was the first Disney park I ever went to. So I still love Disneyland, and if I do get the Disney fix, I mean, if we're in Japan, we'll go to Disneyland Tokyo, and if we're in France, we'll go to Disneyland Paris. But if I ever got an urge again to go to a Disneyland, the closest one to me is Disneyland, the original, and that's the one that's nearest and dearest to my heart. So I mean, I don't trust what they've done with it. Like, I haven't actually been since they built like Galaxy's Edge, so I haven't seen it in its current form. But you know, that would still be the one I would choose to go to, because that's my sentimental favorite. Right? Toho did spin off Mothra into separate films. I remember they were aimed at kids. Yeah, the Mothra trilogy. I watched that. Is definitely more for kids. They were okay. And they actually have some of my favorite versions of Ghidorah in them. But I felt like they kind of missed the point with Mothra by bringing in Mothra Leo. Because Mothra Leo is a male Mothra who, instead of going through the cycle of life, death, and rebirth, he just like gets these Power Ranger upgrades. And so he becomes like super powered in each movie. Gets some upgrade. So it kind of, again, misses the point of Mothra for me. Also, the difference is that the cars are alive, like Bruni with a face. Yeah, but I mean, a living car on a ride in Disney World, or take a real car to a real national park in the real American West. Like, go to Yellowstone, it's cheaper. Like, literally, you can go to Yellowstone. It is cheaper than going to Disney World. A national park, a U.S. national parks pass. So free admission to all national parks units in the United States is like $80 US. That's less than 1 day at Disney World. I should get my own theme park. That's a good idea. Yes. I keep mistaking the People Mover for the Magic Skyway, which they kind of have in LA. I don't know about the Magic Skyway, but yeah. I mean, it is the same technology, right? They developed the People Mover out of the Magic Skyway technology. You have like this continuous conveyor belt, and you just get in the car and off it goes, right? Because the People Mover was an attempt by Disney to come up with a solution to sort of travel and congestion and stuff like that. Because his idea of the future is just fascinating. If you watch the Tomorrowland episodes of Disneyland, so watch Man in Space, Man in the Moon, Mars and Beyond, Magic Highway USA, Our Friend the Atom, the Eyes in Outer Space, and the Epcot, the original Epcot concept reel with Walt Disney. And you can see like his idea of the future is a place of like constant motion. It's like this just constant kinetic motion all the time. Because they're trying to address this problem of like, cities are bigger, there's more people moving around, more people working. How do we get them around, right? Disney was actually trying to solve like real urban planning problems. And the People Mover was part of that. The People Mover at Disneyland was meant to be a demonstration of how this technology worked so that it could be applied to real life cities. Same thing with the monorail. It was just meant to be like a proof of concept so that cities would begin investing in this technology. Unfortunately, it had the opposite effect. So people, looked at the People Mover and the monorail as theme park rides at Disneyland and not as like, oh, this is a demonstration of a viable technology we could use in our cities. So it ended up kind of backfiring in that way. Because Walt had loftier goals for his theme park than the people going to the theme park, or the people running the theme park today. Right now, it's all about IP tie-ins, whereas Walt was like, let's show the future and have this permanent World's Fair in Tomorrowland and show off a cutting-edge technology that could be adopted into real-life uses. The House of the Future, like stuff like that. Yeah, the other problem with his ideas, like for Epcot, is that Epcot is a tyrannical dictatorship as well. Like nowhere. I did like an actual like class presentation on this in university once. That Epcot only works with this like extreme central planning. So Epcot is inherently anti-democratic. It would have been a city owned by the Disney company. It would have been one of these. It's not like a communist sort of collectivist thing. It's like an old school, like corporate city, like owned by the mine, owned by the railway. In this case, owned by Disney, and completely centrally planned. And you can't have a democratic system and have central planning, because democratic system is about a lot of different people with conflicting ideas, conflicting goals, conflicting values, all trying to navigate life together in a place, right? So democracy does the best it can, and you can't have like this perfectly laid out centralized city like an Epcot. And the People Mover is kind of necessary for that. So like People Movers work in like airports, but they wouldn't work in a city because one administration might push through a line of People Movers, and the next administration would chop the budget and whatever else. And yeah. Anyways, so this is my rant on Disney as a techno optimist. I did a whole video about that. It was actually that is one of the videos I'm most proud of, is my Walt Disney's retrofuturism video. But like nobody watched it. So Mark Twain used to throw the N-word around every sentence. Well, that was just in like Huckleberry Finn, because that's how people talked. Right? The Congo gorilla suit should up again in the Ghost in the Invisible Bikini. Yep. Singing in the Rain is also just really funny. True. Vincent Price and Boris Karloff had cameos in the Beach Party films. Yeah. That end cameo, Big Daddy, is Vincent Price. is actually really good. That's like one of the best parts of the movie. I remember Buster Keaton had a role in some of the Beach Party films. Yep. Yeah, his sort of late life career renaissance there in the 60s. I like Blue Hawaii, but it is weird, yeah. I like the Beach Party films more than any of the Elvis films. I can see that. The Elvis films are not very good. They're very boomer films. Whereas Beach Party films, the one from what I've seen of owning Beach Party and seeing clips of the other ones, that at least it's got a bit more of that teenage edge. Keep in mind, the teenagers then were boomers. But yeah, it's got a bit more edge to it, as opposed to the Elvis films, which are all just like really super safe. Except for Elvis had two genuinely good movies. Jailhouse Rock and King Creole. Those are the only the only two like real movies Elvis made. Von Zipper's gang is called The Rats. Well, give us your top 10. Top 10. Well, I can't remember what we were talking about at that time. Did you ever see Popeye the Sailor meet Sinbad? I don't remember if that's a film or a short. I feel like I have, but I've seen a short. I don't remember a feature film. Also, our bus for marching band does not let us watch movies, unfortunately. So instead, I'm going to read the script of the 1925 Lost World to get around that. Other kids get around with other means. All about the rabbits, George? Yeah. Max Fleischer made some remarkable cartoons. Well, yeah. The Superman. I remember the classic Superman cartoons. There was one where he lifted a building. They seem to have copied it in the current film. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's unrealistic as it was for him to, like, this building is, like, bending because this laser is, like, shooting in space, and Superman kind of, like, picks it up, like, stops it bending and, like, puts it back. It's like, I don't think buildings work that way. But, yeah, they do the same thing in the new film, where this building is falling and Superman just kind of, like, holds it, which is, like, again, not how buildings work. They're not really engineered to survive that. But it's nice to see. See, I'm like cautiously optimistic about the new Superman movie, because I understand what it's going for. Like, it's going for this very deliberate throwback, sort of Silver Age Superman, 1980s Superman, with all these callbacks to other versions and things like that, like the Fleischer films and stuff like that. So, and it's definitely more lighthearted, which is okay. As I've said before, Superman is the superhero. And so he can bear a lot of use in different scenarios. And you can have like lighthearted, fun superhero adventure. You can have dark and brooding, serious meditation on what it means to be a superhero. Superman's big enough for all of that. He's strong enough to hold up all of that sort of stuff. So, yeah. Where were the twin fairies in the Monsterverse? There, in King of the Monsters, there is a reference to these two researchers for Monarch, who were twins, and whose mom was a twin, and whose grandmother was a twin. So they've had like these three sets of twins working for Monarch. So that was sort of their throwback to the whole Mothra and the twins thing. I used to say Gigan was my favorite kaiju, but now it's a tie between Gigan and Anguirus. Yeah, fair enough. I'm not I'm not a power scaler, so you're okay to have your own favorite kaiju. I don't feel a need to be like, no, my kaiju can beat up your kaiju. It's like, whatever. Yeah, Gigan is pretty cool. I don't quite get the love for Anguirus, but I'm not. That's not to say like I don't. It's bad. I just he's not my favorite. I did like him in Singular Point. I thought that was a cool take on Anguirus. Examples of 30s Grindhouse: Maniac, Africa Speaks, Forbidden Adventure, and Ingagi. Okay, I see what you mean. So it's sort of like 30s exploitation films. The Bride's favorites are Mothra and Biolante. Excellent. The two girl kaiju. Both of those are. I also like Biolante. She's like probably my favorite modern kaiju. It doesn't have roots in the Showa era. That said, there's the Gigan family, right? Gigan's hot mom, Gigan's hot sister. So they should also do a solo film for Gamera, then have him fight Godzilla. Yeah. Well, yeah, here's the thing, like, how many people know Gamera, right? So, like, monster fans will be like, Gamera, holy crap! I feel like if they wanted to do that in the Monsterverse, though, for, like, popular appeal, they would have to introduce Gamera in a Monsterverse movie. Like, Godzilla X Kong Supernova. That threat from space would have to be like Gamera. That's the only way I could see them, like, pulling that off. I could see Ultraman join the Monsterverse. I suppose. Ultraman is such its own thing, though, that I'm not sure how they would do it. because like yeah, I mean there's like the new Netflix version of Ultraman. Like there's the Ultraman serious anime. There's the Ultraman like funny anime they just did as well. Um, the CGI one. Well, I guess they're both CGI, but one's cel shaded. Um, and Ultraman's still ongoing. Like there's still like an new Ultraman show made like every other year or whatever. Um, I'm not sure how they would include Ultraman in the MonsterVerse. They would probably just stick to Jet Jaguar, really. But GET Jaguar. But sure, why not? Yeah, Kamen Rider 2. Why not? Why the heck? Why not? Throw them all in there. Throw some Ultra Q in there. Sure, whatever. Throw Dimagine in there. Rex says, part of my opinion on Disney World does originate from the fact that the only reason I wanted to go to Orlando was for Muppet Vision 3D, and my dad didn't want to wait in line, so we didn't go. Oh, boo. That sucks. Now there is no Muppet Vision 3D at any park. That sucks. I am sorry, Rex. Muppet Vision 3D was alright. I enjoyed it. Some of it was a bit cringe, but with the 3D CGI character they invented. It was a bit, yeah. But otherwise, yeah, I enjoyed Muppet Vision 3D, so I'm sorry you didn't get a chance to see that. I like to see the Power Rangers brought back and have a crossover with Godzilla. Yeah, put Power Rangers in the MonsterVerse. Why the hell not? Megazord versus Godzilla is a fight I'd like to see. Mothra Leo. Yeah, okay, somebody else explained it to you. They made a Godzilla versus Power Rangers comic. Yes, Popeye, they wanted boys to like Mothra, so they created Mothra Leo. Yeah, Mothra Leo is a male Mothra. So in the first of the Heisei Mothra trilogy, this is the Mothra film from the 90s, Mothra dies, as Mothra is wont to do. That's what she does. But then the egg that hatched, it was a male Mothra, which is Mothra Leo, is what he's called. And Mothra Leo doesn't die, ever. He just keeps getting these power-ups and becomes these different forms of Mothra. So he gets like an armored Mothra, and there's like an aquatic version, and stuff like that. He gets whatever powers he needs to fight the bad guy that he's fighting at that time. If I remember correctly, Magic Skyway had dinosaurs, so it was better. Yes, Magic Skyway did have dinosaurs. In fact, the dinosaurs that were used in the Magic Skyway were then brought over to Disneyland, and that's in Primeval World. So those Primeval World dinosaurs, those were the ones in Magic Skyway. They didn't bring over like the cavemen and stuff from Magic Skyway, which they should have, but yeah, those are those dinosaurs that are in Primeval World. Comic sounds fascinating. Who owns the Power Rangers right now? They're due for another movie. I think it's complicated because it's like, Super Sentai is owned by a company in Japan. The Power Rangers license thing is owned by somebody, but then Power Rangers is based on Super Sentai, so yeah, I don't know. Like Krispy Kreme Rangers, never even heard of it. But Krispy Kreme doesn't really tend to do that successfully in Canada, so I liked most of it, but they didn't show enough of the Rangers. Power Rangers is owned by Saban and kind of Toei. I think either Nickelodeon or Netflix owns Saban. Why did Rita Repulsa look like Diva Talks? What's going on with the Transformers? I heard Paramount is dropping them. I don't know what's going on with like the Bayverse Transformers. I don't care for those movies, so I don't really follow what's going on with them. I just know more like what's going on with the toys. I heard like I don't know who made Transformers 1, but I know it didn't do very well. Yeah. Anyways, I don't know what's going on with the Transformers license. The most recent news I've heard is that the writer for the Skybound comics, like the Energon Universe comics, which are fantastic, might be actually working on a new cartoon of basically the Energon Universe. So a Transformers and G.I. Joe cartoon is the last I've heard. Oh no, someone wrote a novel using dialogue of the times. Because Rita's design is technically owned by Toei, who didn't make the movie. Top 10 favorite movies. Okay. Top 10 favorite movies. Well, Fantasia. So Fantasia, King and the Mockingbird, Midnight in Paris, Adventures of Mark Twain, King Kong. We'll say Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Original. Ooh, that gives me 4 slots left. This is the hardest part. Like, the top 5 is always easy for me. It's just like, yes, I very obviously like these ones. The bottom 5 are like, well, there's lots of equally good films that could go in those slots. Vampire. These are not in any particular, other than Fantasia, they're not really in particular order. So Vampire. I mean, Of Mice and Men, Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, Old Dark House, Honolulu, 1939. It's a great movie. Yeah, those would sort of be the big ones, I guess. Ones I can remember right now. So, Bambi vs. Godzilla is a minimalist masterpiece, correct. Don Rickles was in some of the Beach Party films, yeah. Don Rickles was so talented, he once went on a rant. When they were filming a Beach Party film, I made fun of everyone in the cast. It was so funny they kept it in the film. I gotta see that. Gamera versus Dogura, maybe. Yeah, that would be... There was a deep cut people wouldn't be expecting. It's actually like the antagonist of Supernova is actually Dogura. That was a beach blanket bingo. You can see some of the other actors trying not to laugh. Why Anguirus is cool. He's an Ankylosaurus, which is cool. He's Godzilla's best friend, and thus the Godzilla equivalent of a dog, which is awesome. And he is the most plushable kaiju, other than Mothra. Oh, yeah, I can see all that. Yeah, my Mothra plushes are at the house now, the other house, the one we're moving into. Those have been packed up and moved over already, so I can't pull my Mothra plushes out. But I have the one plush from Japan, and then I have the Squishmallow of Mothra as well. But I can see Anguirus being a being a nice plush as well. They did movies where Ultraman teamed up with his previous versions, yeah. They've done that with Doctor Who as well. Well, yeah, now they wrecked Doctor Who, though, so whatever. So out of Doctor Who. Just so checked out of that. So is everybody else, apparently, according to the ratings. In Kamen Rider, different needs of Power Rangers have also teamed up over the years, yeah? I love the Muppets more than anything other than my dog and cats. I am so upset I missed one chance to see Jim Henson's last performance as Kermit. However, they're taking me to Blobfest. Well, I'm glad you're going to go to Blobfest. That's cool. I would love to go to Blobfest. It's just that, like, you know, it's a lot to make a trip to a small town in Pennsylvania just to go to, like, a couple-day film festival. That said, you think I would have learned from COVID to go do the thing, because you might not get a chance to do the thing again. If I knew then what I know now, I would have gone to that showing of Fantasia at the El Capitan Theater in January of 2020. But anyways, yeah, no, cool, Blobfest. Can I give you like a list of things to buy for me at Blobfest? I would love to go to Blobfest. That'd be amazing. And I mean, it doesn't make up for not seeing Muppet Vision 3D, but yeah, at least you get to go to Blobfest. So there is that. What other theme park attractions did you miss? You know, I wish I could have seen the full-size King Kong animatronic. You know, I actually had been to Los Angeles twice while that was still in the tram tour at Universal Studios, but I didn't go to Universal Studios. And it's like, well, at the time, I wasn't like a huge King Kong fan like I am now. So, like, it would have been lost on me. I would have been like, oh, that's cool. Yay, King Kong. But now, like, in hindsight, I wish I had taken that opportunity. And, you know, I missed Kongfrontation in Florida. So I wish I had been on that. I wish I had been on the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea ride at Disney World. I wish I had seen the original version of Discoveryland, Disneyland Paris, that had Le Visionarium and the original Space Mountain from the Earth to the Moon, like all those themes. I wish I still had that. Those are sort of my big, like, I wish sort of ones. if I like suddenly like opened my eyes tomorrow morning and I was back in like grade 8 or something, it was back in the 90s, I would be like, oh my god, there's so much I would redo. Um, I would bug my parents to take me down to Cardston, Alberta to see Fay Ray hosting a showing of King Kong for the 60th anniversary. I would have bugged my parents to take me or let me go to Disneyland and Disney World and Universal Studios and all that sort of stuff. But anyways, if only. They should do a brand new team of Power Rangers, make another movie. Yeah. We once did a movie where I formed a team of wrestlers. It was called Champions of Justice. Yeah. I've seen on YouTube, Santa. What's your favorite Godzilla fan film? I don't have a favorite Godzilla fan film. I haven't watched. I don't watch a lot of fan films. It's not really a part of fandom that I'm like super into. And the closest I've watched is like the Star Trek, like Prelude to Axanar fan film. But it wasn't even like a fan film. That's like has actual Star Trek actors in it. So, yeah, I couldn't tell you what my favorite Godzilla fan film is. They should do a Godzilla versus Transformers crossover. Well, I mean, there is the toy. They just came out with the Godzilla X Transformers toys, which are kind of crap. Like the Godzilla one is just a redeco of Megatron. No, sorry, it's a redec. It's Megatron, but it's a redeco of Grimlock with Sludge's head, and they redecoed it as Godzilla. So that's the Godzilla figure, and then the Optimus is just the Laser Optimus mold, but redecoed as part of like Team Kiryu, which I'm okay with that. It's like Optimus is on Team Kiryu, but the just redecoing Grimlock as Godzilla is a bit lazy, especially when like they have Trypticon. So, like I did a video on like 3 times that Transformers already did Godzilla better. Yeah. My favorite is Dragon Lizard Lord at Super Monsters. Who would Godzilla fight? Unicron? Well, it depends how OP you make Godzilla, I suppose. Maybe he would fight Metroplex, the Autobot city that can transform into a robot. Yeah, well, it's like that was part of my video on times Transformers already did Godzilla better. Is that you had the in season 3 you had the binary there of Trypticon, so the big dinosaur robot, versus Metroplex, who was the big city robot, but he's like humanoid, so it's kind of like Godzilla versus Ultraman kind of thing. And then you go to the horror cons, which are both Decepticons, but you had the one that turned into a dinosaur dragon thing, and another one turned into an ape. It's like, oh my god, that's Godzilla and King Kong. And then, of course, Beast Wars. You've got T-Rex, Megatron, and Gorilla Optimus Prime. Optimus Primal. Blobfest is technically a graduation present. I will consider buying a souvenir, but remember, I am broke. That's okay, Rex. Don't worry about it. I kind of miss Tower of Terror, but I also can't handle fast rides without barfing, so it's okay personally. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, the Tower of Terror, I did a whole video about it, nobody watched either, of how great the Tower of Terror is, because it actually got me into the Twilight Zone, which, unfortunately, my Twilight Zone patch fell off. But yeah, it's a great ride, but yeah, if you can't handle the drop, then avoid it. I'm not a fan of drop rides, but I tough it out for the theme is just chef's kiss. Have you ever seen Dracula versus Frankenstein? The director of that was murdered in real life. No, I've not seen that one. Portia Ackerman had a cameo in that one. Oh, interesting. And Lon Chaney had a role. Oh, cool. I guess I'll have to watch it. You might enjoy Godzilla Battle Royale 2014. They have Superman fighting a kaiju in the current film. Yes, they do. Which is like, okay, but why not like pull a character, like an actual thing from the comics? There's enough in the comics that you could get a giant monster from. So why not do that as opposed to making up whatever this kind of bland monster thing is? But like, from what I've seen, That's the one thing that I think is going to be a little weak, which I suppose is typical for DC. Because I will say this: DC has the better heroes, Marvel has the better villains. Um, so like yeah, DC has some classic villains like the Joker and Lex Luthor, but you know who's who has consistently better villains? I would say Marvel does. Um, but it's like okay, they've got this engineer person who just is kind of like lady in a skin tight leather suit with little spinny blades. They've got this weird generic kaiju thing, and Ultraman, who just looks like Black Noir. So, um, who may or may not be Henry Cavill based on the rumors and the scuttlebutt. Um, so I don't know, but I mean, it's like yeah, the movie isn't about the villains though. The movie is about Superman. So, um, they're not gonna have Bizarro or Mr. Mixicalplix, Mixsplitlick, or whatever, other more wacky things in Superman's Rogues Gallery. If they avoid Doomsday, I'll be happy. I've never liked Doomsday as a villain, so I'll be happy if they avoid him. And we've already done Zod a bunch of times, so. But anyways, might be a reference to Arctic Giant. Yeah, I mean, it would be better if it was a dinosaur as opposed to whatever it is. It's like this weird sort of like giant hospital. Like, okay. Yep, fought a dinosaur in one of the Fleischer cartoons. I would like to see a Godzilla Transformers crossover comic book, but I think they should have done that during the IDW era. Yeah, maybe. I can't see it fitting into like the Skybound. The Energon universe is so interesting on its own. It doesn't need Godzilla in it. Plus, Godzilla's really busy because Monster vs. Godzilla has been fighting the Justice League, and Toho Godzilla has been fighting the Marvel Universe. So, Godzilla's been pretty busy. Doesn't have time to fight Transformers right now. When are they going to do an Avengers versus Justice League? I mean, it's already happened a couple times in the comics. It's not going to happen in the movies right now because, like, frickin' Marvel is tanking hard and DC is just trying to play catch up again. Second round of catch up. So I think that's one that is going to be sort of left behind for a while. I mean, they could, in theory, do like just like a one-off cartoon, like direct-to-streaming cartoon kind of thing, of just sort of like the classic Avengers lineup versus the classic Justice League lineup. And then never follow the DC heroes because all the DC heroes are like OP. So, Arctic Giant was an ancestor of Godzilla. Yeah, pretty much. It was the first. Well, it wasn't the first giant dinosaur. The first dinosaur running amok in civilization was in the Lost World. But yeah, Arctic Giant took the right cue and brought back the right dinosaur this time. Bring back the giant T-Rex thing. And then, well, yeah, I mean, King Kong doesn't really count. They brought back King Kong to civilization. That was before the Arctic Giant. But anyways, are you going to see Fantastic Four? I get less optimistic the more I see of it. But I still maybe might go, It's been a while since I've actually seen a movie in the theaters. But if at least just for the aesthetic of the whole thing, the sort of retro mid-century futurist aesthetics, that's the most interesting looking part. I know they're not really going to do with the Fantastic Four what I would like them to have done with the Fantastic Four, which is like have them be like these super fun, wacky, quasi-comedy sort of gonzo movies. Fantastic Four versus the Mole Man, Fantastic Four versus Annihilus, Fantastic Four versus Kang, and then leading up to Galactus. But they're using Galactus right out of the gate. And from what I gather, how it's going to work is basically that the Fantastic Four either can't stop Galactus from destroying their Earth, or Reed Richards like destroys the whole universe to stop Galactus, and then they evacuate into the proper MCU, which is like, well, that's kind of a weird way of doing the Fantastic Four. It would have been fun to see like a whole series of movies in that retro 60s setting. But I mean, what I would have done with them is have the Fantastic Four, like, do your new origin movie of the Fantastic Four in the present MCU, and then just have that be the wacky Gonzo adventures. And they could have like Reed Richards like invent all of that weird like retro 60s sort of looking stuff. But I do like the retro futurist vibe of the film, so I might just see it for that. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. It might just happen that like, you know, Superman and Fantastic Four come out and I just like forget about it and don't see either one. But let's see, where were we? IDW has some of the best Transformers crossovers like Star Trek, TMNT, Back to the Future, my favorite, My Little Pony. But you haven't even seen the MLP show. It was a fun read. Yeah. Well, I mean, you've got those comics, and then they did like the crossover toys as well. So there's like the DeLorean Transformer and the Ecto 1 Transformer, and they just did the Ninja Turtles Party Wagon Transformer and stuff. My only thing is like with IDW, I didn't like really care for the stories. They were too much in like the whole we have to like do like revisionist Transformers where like the Autobots are actually the bad guys and stuff like that, and the Decepticons are just misunderstood revolutionaries and all that sort of stuff. And so much like shipping of characters in it, whatever. It's like, not my jam. I like the Energon Universe comics because they're actually consistent with the original characters. It's just written for adults, as opposed to like let's try and make the characters all edgy and stuff like that, and make, you know, this faux complexity of like actually the good guys are the bad guys, and the bad guys are the good guys and whatever. I like my good guys good and my bad guys bad. It's just you can add nuance and complexity to that thing. That said, I did like when they rebooted their Transformers thing and they had like Megatron as basically Donald Trump. I thought was actually pretty genius. It's like, yes, we're back to Megatron being a bad guy and not just like, you know, a misunderstood revolutionary sort of thing. I never give you 20,000 fathoms. Yeah. Anyone remember the Batman versus Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? I've seen clips of that, and it's horrifying to me. I find, you know, Ninja Turtles, how mutation works is like, you know, fun for wacky kids cartoon, but if you think of it applied to like real people, it's horrifying. The idea of like being mutated into like some hybrid with some random animal thing, especially if someone does that to you, like Joker did that to you, would be horrifying. So that's like nightmare fuel. Batman versus Ninja Turtles. They're making a Deadpool and Batman crossover, sure. I am looking forward to seeing Mole Man on the big screen. Hopefully he's like, it'd be fun if he was in it. I know they had the underground monster in that like Little Caesars commercial. So recreated the cover of Fantastic Four #1 for the commercial. So we'll see if he's actually in it. But I remember Saban owned Ninja Turtles for a while. They got to do Power Rangers Ninja Turtles crossover. I do kind of enjoy the IDW comics a bit more than Skybound, just because Skybound keeps killing or not including my favorite characters. Skybound is pretty brutal. They are pretty brutal, but that's one of the things I actually like about it. Just insofar as, you know, it shows that this war has costs to it. You know, they killed off my favorite character too. Like Cup was like, you know, he died in like 3 panels. He was introduced and died in 3 panels, as they were trying to get rescue Ultra Magnus. You know, but I appreciate that, like, you know, Energon is this rare resource, and they use it to, when they're fighting, they need it to resurrect the other Transformers, it's hard to get. They're fighting over it, so there's actually costs to it. And when they get damaged, they're getting damaged, and like it's not easy to repair them because they're on Earth. They don't have the Cybertronian technology. They don't have the energon. They don't have the resources. So when they get injured, they're injured. Um, when they have to do these sort of like sort of jerry rigged repairs and stuff, like Optimus wearing Megatron's arm, that's stuff they had to do, and they can't bring in just all the characters at once because they don't have the energon for it. So I like that, like the war has consequences, and that to me is part of the mature storytelling, right? It's not just like, oh, it's opposite day, the good guys, the bad guys, the bad guys, the good guys, that sort of thing. It's like, no, the good guys are good and the bad guys are bad, but now like the war has consequences, and the bad guys are actually acting bad, like how they cannibalize Skywarp to rebuild Teletran 1, and how Starscream is a rat bastard. But then we find out Starscream was made into a rat bastard by Megatron. So it's like, okay, like it's Megatron's fault that Starscream is the way he is. Stuff like that. So I like that aspect of it all. Anyways, if you like IDW, that's fine. I'm not saying like, you're bad for liking it, but yeah, it's just like that. That's why I like the Skybound one. Did I see House of the Wolfman? I heard of House of the Wolfman, but I haven't seen it. So I suppose I should make an effort to do that. They should do a sequel to the Monster Squad. Show what happened to the kids after they got older. Oh, yeah. Disingenuous decades later sequel boot. Yeah. Bumblebee dies before he gets a line. Skywarp, cannibalized by Starscream. Grimlock, the writer says he doesn't care for and can't decide on an origin story. Correct. Correct on all accounts. I mean, eventually they'll bring in the Dinobots once he figures out how to do it. It seems like for the most part, they've been just retreading the original cartoon, just with more mature storytelling, right? So they had that opening arc of them arriving on Earth. They did the arc of Cybertron coming to Earth to steal Earth's resources. So, it would make sense down the line for them to do the Dinobot episodes, but just more mature storytelling, right? So, I could see it. I mean, first of all, they have to like figure out how to bring them in, right? Because they haven't even brought back all the the ones from Cybertron yet before building new ones. But like, it would be probably a lot more like the Marvel comics, where it's like Grimlock is actually like a serious like threat to Optimus. Like Grimlock is serious about wanting to take over the Autobots. And the Dinobots are like this unruly anarchic band that the Autobots are almost more a problem for the Autobots than the Decepticons are. Really like amp that up for the Energon universe. So I see how they could do it if and when they get around to it in the story. But right now the story doesn't need them, so that's fine. Have I seen Megan? No. Are you planning on seeing the sequel? No. It's weird how Megan looks like one of the Olsen twins. Kind of. Yeah, I'm just not. I don't really do modern horror. So, the answer to like any question of like, have I seen X modern horror movie? The answer is going to be no. I haven't seen the new Wolfman. I haven't seen the new Invisible Man. I don't even know what's been out lately. I haven't seen like any Jordan Peele movies, any of that stuff. Like, I just don't care for modern horror, so I don't pay attention. I'm a classic horror guy. But yes, she does look like a doll of the Olsen twins. I will grant that. How am I going here? It's an hour and 40 minutes. I can kind of feel my voice starting to give out a little bit, which means I might wrap this up sooner rather than later. Not right now, but sooner rather than later, just because I make my living with my voice. So, not just on here, but like I got a tour I'm doing. Actually, tours I'm doing all weekend, so I should preserve my voice a little bit. So I might wrap this up eventually here. Also depends on the chat. If you guys, if you guys drop off the face of the planet and don't give me anything more to talk about, then I guess that'll be that. I love classic horror myself. Yeah, I for me, I've talked about it in videos I've made of like why Universal monsters are so great and stuff. Um, but it's sort of like I haven't come right out and said it. It's sort of like when I discuss like why they're great, it comes up. But basically, I agree with the worldview and the sensibilities in the classic horror films. The idea of, the universe is scary because God exists. The universe is terrifyingly full of meaning, and human choices actually can mean the difference between salvation and damnation and stuff. Um, that resonates with me. Plus, I love the gothic aesthetic. Like modern horror, I don't find aesthetically interesting. I love the gothic aesthetic. So yeah, modern horror just doesn't appeal to me. The 50s sci-fi stuff does. Again, I mean, I prefer Victorian science fiction, right? Um, the Victorian aesthetic applied to sci-fi. But even the 50s sci-fi stuff I like, because I do a bit down the chain from like Victorian aesthetics down to like that mid-century modern aesthetic, the streamlined modern sort of stuff. So the silver flying saucers and stuff like that, I do like that as well. So the 50s sci-fi gets me there. So I haven't watched a lot of modern sci-fi either, or what passes for modern sci-fi. Although, like, some that I have seen are good. Like, Moon was good. It's just not like, I'm not like Goo Goo Eyes for it or anything. But that classic horror resonates with me on a thematic level, on a spiritual level, on an aesthetic level, all that sort of stuff. So I just don't bother with a lot of modern horror. Plus, I have like, modern horror. So much of it is just like gore and just violence for the sake of violence, which sets off my body horror, and it's not worth it. Knowing my luck, they will introduce Grimlock, and he immediately kills Windblade, who was introduced in a previous issue, then dies. Probably that's how it'll work. Actually, it wouldn't surprise me if, like, yeah, the Dinobots go nuts and start killing Autobots. Do I like Wes Anderson? I have liked the Wes Anderson movies that I've seen. They're definitely quirky. The last one I watched was Meteor City, and I think, is that what it's called? Whatever, Asteroid City, whatever, that one. I liked it, except the ending was baffling. The whole framing device of, this is a play within the movie. I didn't really get what that was about, and I'll freely admit that. But as far as like the actual like what the story that the play is about, and the aesthetic of that, like sort of the flat, sort of the Northern Arizona Route 66 kind of this flat artifice of it, I really like that. Parts I've seen of like Grand Budapest Hotel I've enjoyed, stuff like that. So I've enjoyed them. I'm just not like actively hunting down Wes Anderson movies to watch. But I haven't disliked anything of his that I've watched. Certainly. We did a film inspired by the Universal Classics. It was called Santo and the Blue Demon versus the Monsters. Ooh. We also did Santo and the Blue Demon versus Dracula and the Wolfman. Cool. I gotta catch up on my El Santo films, apparently. Ooh. You might like his newest movie, The Phoenician Scheme. It's very Art Deco. Yes, I've seen trailers for that, but haven't made plans to go watch it or anything. We ended up just kind of seeing them by accident, like they're on Netflix or whatever, and watch them that way. But he's definitely, I will say, he's definitely one of the few like real directors that is actually making like movies, cinematic movies, but they're not like action movies. So I suppose I should go support his work if I just want to like, if I want like real movies to exist, not just corporate product action movie. But I think actually on that note, oh, what's my favorite comedy? Okay, I was gonna say is those might actually bring it to an end here. But my favorite comedy, hmm, um, probably Monty Python and the Holy Grail, which I think is probably the funniest movie like ever made. um, yeah, if you pinned me down, I'd probably say that. The Marx Brothers, I love the Marx Brothers, but it's hard to pick out like which is better, animal crackers or duck soup. Like it's they're basically like it's what's funny about any of their movies is them, and uh, especially Groucho and his one-liners, and the plots and stuff are just a delivery mechanism for their comedy. So it's hard to pick out like any single Marx Brothers films, but I would certainly say their original ones with Paramount. I enjoy those more. The Bride actually prefers the later ones with like MGM, because they have like the comedy is tempered by like a proper romantic plot and like music and stuff. Whereas I prefer their Paramount ones, which are just like these totally anarchic, insane films. Um, so the Marx Brothers in general I like, but I would say my single favorite comedy would be Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Um, Seven Chances with Buster Keaton. I have never laughed so hard as in the finale of that movie. When all the brides show up in response to his newspaper ad and the chase ensues. Oh my god, I have never laughed so hard as I have laughed at that whole ending of Seven Chances. Um, so those are probably my main ones that I would cite as favorite comedies. Are you a fan of the Beatles? Have you ever seen A Hard Day's Night, Help, or Yellow Submarine? I've seen Yellow Submarine. Um, I wouldn't say I'm a fan of the Beatles. I would say I respect them, but I'm not really a fan of them. I used to like them when I was younger, like in my teenage years and stuff. More so because like a friend of mine really got into them, so I kind of got into them too, I guess. Um, but yeah, I'm not like a fan of them today or anything. Have you ever seen Kiss Meets the Phantom? No. My favorite comedy is Singing in the Rain, then followed by SpongeBob the movie, which is also my second favorite adaptation of the Odyssey, behind Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Sure. I love Kiss Meets the Phantom. Okay, nice. I'm not a fan of Kiss, so um, would not have occurred to me to see a Kiss movie. Um, what about the Pink Panther? I was so confused by the Pink Panther. I saw it when I was a kid, and I was like, "Where is the Pink Panther?" Like, what the heck? I could not figure out that the Pink Panther was like the jewel, and that it's like a satire of like detective movies and Hitchcock movies and stuff like that. That I could not figure that out as a kid because I didn't have the cultural vocabulary to understand it. To me, the Pink Panther was like the the cartoon character. So, Yellow Submarine's music video gave me nightmares as a kid. I imagine so. Those movies were so funny, Santo. Yeah. I mean, now I might appreciate them more as an adult. I have the cultural background to understand what the Pink Panther movies are about now. Honestly, Kiss Meets Scooby Doo is incredible. Nice. One year at the Calgary Stampede, so it's our big annual fair and rodeo, we have this big grandstand show at the end of each night. It's like it's a 10-day event. At the end of each night, after the chuck wagon races, they have this big grandstand show, and it ends off with fireworks. And one year they had a Kiss tribute band, and I was so confused. I was like, "Is that actually Kiss?" Because it wasn't clear that it was a tribute band. And I thought, and it'd be kind of weird for them to like have a tribute band in like the grandstand show, as opposed to the real people. And I was like, no, Kiss wouldn't like show up just to do like 2, 3 songs for the Calgary Stampede Grandstand show for 10 nights. Like, that's ridiculous, Cory. And no, it wasn't actually Kiss. But have me scratching my head there for a second, for sure. I'm in the same boat when it comes to Pink Panther, yeah. Kiddo was my favorite character in those films. Cool. Yeah, cool. Well, I think, barring any other questions or topics of conversation, I might actually draw this to a close so I can go nurse my voice, get it back in working order for tomorrow. The Bates Motel sign is off anyways, so time to go tend to Mother, make sure she's okay. And I don't have any previews because I haven't worked on any videos. I've been so busy with tour guiding and work and this house and everything, and just so tired in between. In fact, I've actually finally started taking antidepressants, which I should have done 20 years ago. And they have really evened out my sleep schedule, which means I'm always tired. So, I have not worked on any videos. I've kind of been waiting to when I get the new house up and running, the new space. I might not get my dungeon studio room, where I'm gonna keep the monster toys. I might not have that up and running at the beginning, but definitely the Kong stuff, because that's all in the Tiki room. You want to get that set up pretty quickly. And I am gonna do a video. Yeah, it was lit up earlier, but it died out because it uses batteries, and the batteries I bought from the dollar store are not very good. But I want to do a video on setting up my Kong collection in the new space, because I feel like I have something I could actually add to the YouTube universe of being able to set up a real display space. This is just sort of stuff crammed in as best I could, and I've beautified it as best I could. But now I have 8 meters of space between 3 shelving units, and so now I get to actually create nice displays, and how I plan on doing that, and the steps from planning out where stuff goes, adding in the decor items and the diorama scenes, stuff like that, adding in other decor, and thinking about a collection is not just a display shelf of stuff. A collection is decor. So how do you integrate that with your home? How do you feature the things that you own so that you can actually appreciate each individual thing? Because I've got this Kong statue right here is presently the most expensive thing on my Kong collection. This was $150, which actually broke my no more than $100 rule. But this is crammed in here beside the X Plus vinyls, the NECA figures, the Lego set, stuff like that. So it's give and my got this guy, which really deserves space to be seen. So it's how do you display stuff so that it has space to breathe and be seen and appreciated and to look beautiful in a space that this is also going to be where we sit and watch TV and play video games and entertain guests and stuff like that, right? So not just the Godzilla fan Kallax just stuffed full of identical Godzilla toys, so it's just this white noise of Godzilla. It's actually something that people can look at and appreciate what it is. So I want to do a video about that. I have a couple other sort of Kong related topics that once that setup is done, then I have the cool Kong display in the background, then I want to do some other Kong videos I have in the back of my mind. But that's going to be a month from now, 2 months from now, that sort of thing. Because the whole moving process is a lot when moving into a house that you have to renovate and settle the estate of the person you inherited it from and all that sort of stuff. So I don't have any previews right now. In fact, my channel is kind of be on a little bit of a hiatus, I guess, while I get all this stuff sort of organized, unless there's something really sticking in my craw that I need to go on about, do a video about. But show a photo of your house. That'd have to be the preview. I guess, yeah. You should always enjoy the present. You can't live in the past, and you don't know what is coming up in the future. Yeah, I try. But the past is a very large presence. My philosophy is it all goes back to spinach. I thought, Papa, I thought your philosophy was I am what I am, and that's all that I am. Been dealing with mothers of another type tonight. Grr. Have a good night, folks. See you all in the funny papers. All right, yeah. So good night, everyone. Thanks for popping in, and we'll see if we do a stream next month. It depends when we get moved over and get the internet at the other place and whatever else. Otherwise, might be 2 months. I don't know. We'll see. It's a bit up in the air right now. But have a good night, and we'll see you next time, whenever that'll be.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.